Welcome to The Inner Practice, the podcast where we explore the stories behind transformation, how we move from doing to being, from striving to living with purpose. I'm your host, Jackie Vandertoon. Today I'm joined by Mark Macleod, a man whose journey bridges two worlds, a high-stakes arena of global business and a deeply spiritual realm of music and yoga. From serving as a CFO for some of the world's most successful tech companies to spinning records at raves, producing spiritual electronic music, and now coaching CEOs on leadership and self-awareness, Mark's story is a reminder that success and soul don't have to be separate. I first met Mark at a class that he was teaching on breathwork, and I saw you walking down the street, and although I never met you before, I instantly knew it was you because of your clothes, your demeanor, and how you carried yourself. However, when I see you on the websites, you are completely different, and I'm sure we'll discuss how you meld the two seemingly separate lives, but I welcome you and thank you for coming.
Thanks, Jackie. I love that.
Mark, I'm so excited that you're here. I really am, because I know nothing about business. And as we were talking before, I see business as Dragon's Den, which you told me is for entertainment.
Correct.
So one of the things I'm super curious on is how you meld business and yoga together. But let's just begin with telling me about your trajectory. You began in Scotland and ended up here. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was born on a tiny island in Scotland called the Isle of Lewis. Has a population of 8,000 people. The town where I lived, which was considered the big town, has 3,000 people. Main industries are sheep farming and fishing. As a piece of useless trivia, Donald Trump's mother, who's a Macleod, is born on the island.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we enjoyed that trivia. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, my sister was born 10 years after me. And my parents concluded there was 33% unemployment in the island at the time, that there was no future for us. And one of my dad's brothers had moved to Canada 3 years earlier, and he's like, Canada's amazing, you should come. And so one day they told me, like, hey, we're moving to Canada in 6 weeks. And that was it. So when I was 11.
Wow. So you were completely uprooted from your friends, your family.
For sure.
And then moved across the ocean.
Yeah. I remember. So we go from, on that island, most of the roads, it's one lane for both directions. And then every 150 yards, there's a little thing where you can pull off. And then we arrive on the 401 with the 16 lanes. And I still remember my dad's boss, because he got a job before, and my dad's boss picked us up and was taking us to the hotel. And my mom's freaking out. She's like, all right, I've seen it. We can go back now. I'm good.
Right.
Anyway, obviously we stayed.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because I don't even detect a little Scottish brogue.
I worked to get rid of it because kids were pretty mean then. So I would practice Canadian after. I would go and watch TV and talk along with it. So.
Are you able to go back to Scotland often?
Yeah. I was there. I gave a talk there this year at a tech event, and brought my family back there last year.
So your background is really in finance.
Mm-hmm.
And can you kind of talk about how that finance, music, and mindfulness kind of weave together? Or do they?
They do. Maybe a little background on each separately, and then we can talk about how they come together. All right, so finance. I'm the first person in my family to go to university. We knew nothing about it. We were very poor. We lived in subsidized housing when I was in high school. I took accounting in grade 13, and the heavens opened up. I'm a Virgo. I like to organize things. And it's like, there's a place for everything. Everything's in its place. This is a profession. Are you kidding me? Right. So I was blown away. And then I found out that there are these co-op programs where you can alternate academic and work terms. And that was actually, frankly, the only way that I could afford to go to university. And so I got in, and anyway, long story short, became a CPA. And
okay, so can I stop you there?
Yeah.
CPA.
Yes.
What does that mean?
A certified professional accountant. So the people
that
audit companies, those kinds of things. Yeah. So professional accountants. And I spent 6 years in that world for doing audit, which was painful and a bit boring, and 2 doing corporate finance, which was better. Along the way, I moved to Montreal. I was dating a girl from Montreal, and as soon as I got my CPA, I moved. Turns out we were better as a long-distance couple, so we broke up in a year, but I already fell in love with Montreal, so I stayed. And I ended up joining one of my clients after raising a $3 million funding round for them. I became their first head of finance. And this was actually in the dot-com bubble, when all this kind of craziness was happening with internet companies. I thought I was just good at fundraising. I had no clue. It just turns out there was a bubble and everyone was getting funded. But I've never left. So, I spent 14 years as CFO for a number of companies, including Shopify, which is by far Canada's most successful tech company. 3 years as a venture capitalist investing in those companies, 5 years running my own investment bank, selling those companies, and now in my 6th year of coaching the CEOs of these companies. So that's been a wild journey. So that's business, I guess, and there's more to explore. Music has been a huge thread in my life, all of my life. My dad was the lead singer and guitarist in like the big rock band on the island called the Carltones. And so I grew up with music and was pretty obsessed with it. And I was actually very obsessed with electronic music from the early days. Although I was a drummer in a rock band in high school. This was blissfully before digital phones and social media because I had long permed hair. And I had lumber jackets where I cut the sleeves off.
Of course.
So you could see how big my arms were when I was drumming. It was awful. I had like leather studded wristbands. It was awful.
I see it. I totally see it in the 90s. I get it.
Yeah. And 80s.
In the 80s.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, a really good friend of mine from high school, he took a gap year, went to London, England, discovered rave, and somehow, clearly everyone was on drugs, convinced some people to move to Canada with him to establish rave there, and he set up Canada's first rave company called Pleasure Force. And then my best friend brought me there in 1992, gave me a hit of acid, danced all night, and I was hooked and completely obsessed. And I went from 220 pounds to 160 pounds in a year.
What?
Because I stopped working out and didn't eat a lot and stayed up all night and did drugs and danced all the time. And I structured my academic life around that. So I made classes were Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I'd go into the city and party and then recover, rinse and repeat. And I became a DJ later. And so I was a DJ in kind of clubs, after hours, rave parties until 2004 when I became a dad. But I never lost the passion and would do these mixes online. But then when COVID hit, my kids were older, I had free time. And so I started making tracks and I created a record label that was top 50 in the world in its genre for a while. I gave it to one of the artists in Sri Lanka to run last year. And then lately I've been producing down-tempo music with spiritual elements like chanting mantra, binaural beats, indigenous drums. And so that's a thing.
Mark, you're a contrast in opposites. Because I keep thinking you're into yoga, but I want to go back to the music a little bit because I'm a Nova Scotian girl, and I grew up with music. Like it's just, as Nietzsche said, life without music is meaningless. Can you tell me a little bit about what music means to you?
It's hard to imagine life without music, so I know it's tough to say. I'm all like in my most stressful days, like where things were bonkers at work, I would come home, pull out records because it was records then, start DJing, and instantly the stress was gone. Right? So, and dancing is moving meditation, right? And you stop thinking, and there's actually been studies done that heartbeats synchronize as you dance together. If the music specifically is 120 BPM, which most house music is. So, I don't know. It's just a massive part of my life. Like, I cannot imagine life without it.
But it's interesting you've got, like, the specific genre of rave. Is there something about that electronic beat that that format that speaks to you versus, I don't know, country and western music or something. I've got Dave Matthews all over my house. So anybody who knows me knows that I'm a huge Dave Matthews fan.
Yeah. I mean, I love the... it's funny. People who don't listen to electronic music say it all sounds the same. Right. I hear country music or rock music, I'm like, it all sounds the same. So different strokes for different folks. But the thing with electronic music is like the possibilities are limitless. Like you can create any sound, you can sample anything. Like I don't know, I could take a fart and throw some echo and reverb on it and turn it into the background for a track. I can stick it into a morphing engine and literally have it just like go on like a 5-minute journey as a background to a song. Like I could literally do that. Right. I should probably do that.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So it's just the possibilities are endless, right?
I guess the reason I ask is because, and I am a complete nerd, is I came across this one study of nurses during COVID, and they looked at frequencies, and that one was 430 and one was 440 or 470, I can't remember. And people gravitated or decreased their stress with, and I think it was the 430 or 440. Maybe it was.
You're talking about hertz.
Yeah, the 430. So, you know.
That's the root chakra frequency.
Yeah, so that's why I was kind of like, is there something about, because again.
For sure, well, that's what binaural beats are.
Yeah, okay, now you have to tell us what that is.
Well, it's like, so everything is just movement and energy, right? If you go down to an atom and just stick it under the most powerful microscope, you'll see it's mostly empty, and we're just energy moving. We think we're solid, but we're not. And so we're just vibration. This is why when you meet someone, you're like, I like their vibe. That's what you're referring to, their vibration. And so certain vibrations attract, certain vibrations repel. You walk in, someone's in a bad mood, you know. Right. Someone's like in love, you know. You feel it. So sound is completely related to that, right? This is why like the crystal bowls, like the sound baths are so healing. And obviously why music is so universal. Chanting, mantra, all these things. Like, we're just vibration.
That's fascinating. I love the fact that you again weave kind of the woo-woo, right? Like with kind of my next question is, again, I'm my brain is separated here, but can you talk a little bit about what does success mean to you as someone who spent time as a CFO in business and now someone who spends time in that arena, but in, kind of a different arena as well?
Success. Yeah, that's a good word. It's not money. And I recognize that I say that from a position of privilege as someone who has money. But I have seen my wealth go up and down, and it has had no impact on my happiness. I think success is having a purpose. I think success is being healthy. I tell my CEOs all the time, like, the healthy person has 100 priorities and the sick person has one, which is to be healthy.
I love that, and you've taken me off in a little bit of a different trajectory here. Purpose, when did you discover your purpose? And I say that from not knowing. I mean, it's taken me 50 years to understand what my purpose is, and I'm still not 100% sure. But, has that been something that's part of that evolution, moving from Scotland to living in subsidized housing to moving into that finance world?
Yeah, that's something I've thought about a lot. So I'm going to take a step back just to give some context. So the person who was my best friend when I lived in Scotland, like, I'm still in touch with him. He was actually my uncle. He's 18 months older than me, which must have been very controversial in the island for what that's worth. But in any event,
it's a small place. Gives some people to gossip.
Yeah. He has 2 part-time jobs. One in like one of the 2 grocery stores on the island, like stocking shelves, bagging, bags. Another part-time job driving for the only taxi company on the island. That could have been my life. We came here, and I obviously didn't realize it when I was 11, but by the time I went to university, I was like, I could be anything. I have unlimited potential.
Kudos to your parents for helping you instill that.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I kind of jumped on that, And notwithstanding the prolific drug consumption, I studied martial arts for a long time. Most of high school and actually the first 2 years of undergrad. And so I had a tremendous amount of self-discipline. And so that served me really well. And so I was just determined I was very fascinated by finance. I would watch the movie Wall Street every Sunday while I was ironing my shirts for the week and polishing my shoes, and I'm going to be Gordon Gekko someday. Fast forward, and I've actually raised over $1 billion for companies and sold over $1 billion worth of companies, but I never sold my soul, and like Gordon Gekko, so I'm pleased about that. Yeah, but my purpose came, first of all, from just trying to achieve my full potential in this finance world, but actually from the managing partner of the first accounting firm I worked for. He kind of took me under his wing because he's also Scottish, and he was fascinated about this story who comes from this tiny island and now is working on Bay Street, which is like the home of finance in Canada. So he was quite in love with that story, and he really mentored me, and I worked on mostly for his clients. And I saw that his clients turned to him for most major decisions, and that he was like this trusted advisor. And I just wanted to be that. And I'm happy to say that's what I've become. So I, at the risk of sounding dramatic, I think I'm on the planet to help entrepreneurs succeed.
I don't think you're being over dramatic at all. I mean, I think, and again, I love research, and this happiness study or longevity study that was published at Harvard. That was one of the things that they talked about is, these people need to find purpose. And it helps you wake up every day. So I think that understanding why you're on this planet kind of allows you to wake up and carry forward. So kudos to you for discovering that. When did you discover that?
Yeah, pretty early. I had a sense for it even when I was still inside accounting firms, because I was just trying to be that guy, the managing partner. I'd say after the first tech startup, when the .com bubble burst, I started advising multiple companies and trying to package them up and sell them for whatever we could get. And I really got so much fulfillment out of working with many companies at a time versus being part of one, even though I went back and forth a few times. So I'd say definitely by the time I was 30, it was pretty clear.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Because again, I say that coming from someone who was really figuring this kind of out when they're in their 50s, right? And so how did that make you feel? Obviously, you have nothing to compare to, but so young, knowing what your purpose is.
Grateful. Also, it provides clarity because you know where to walk.
Going back a little bit to your journey, and I know a little bit about the story. This is why it intrigued me. Where did you first kind of uncover yoga?
Yeah. So this is embarrassing. In my late 20s, I wanted to go to yoga classes because Lululemon was a thing then, and those pants are pretty fantastic. I want to see some women doing yoga in Lululemon pants. I'm turning red here.
It's warm in here by the fireplace. Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah, so that was it. And me and my buddies went to the yoga class at the gym where we trained at for the wrong reasons, but I really liked it. And I was super busy then. I was at my first startup then. Things were crazy. And I would never have used that word at the time, but it grounded me. And so I kept going back. And then eventually I started getting serious about it. This is back when people still bought DVDs, so I bought these Rodney Yee DVDs and would practice his power yoga at home. And then fell into Bikram yoga for a time and got really serious about that, I was more Pitta at the time, and so that was not good for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Pitta just being the dosha. So just can you talk a little bit about that for people who might not be familiar with that?
There's 3 doshas under Ayurveda, so Pitta, Vata, and Kapha. They each have, I guess, a positive element and maybe a shadow side. A positive element of Pitta is you have drive and ambition. A shadow side might be anger, fire, these things. So I'm kind of somewhere between Pitta and Vata. Vata being an air element, and you can be very creative, lost in your thoughts. And anyway, I was very Pitta at the time. And then, things were super busy. I had done an MBA, got married. I was doing an MBA while I was CFO for a company. I don't recommend that. Had a kid. Was traveling all the time. Things were crazy. And I actually recognized by then that yoga was actually keeping me sane. Mm. And so I wanted to practice every day, but I couldn't get to a studio every day. And so I signed up for this thing that at the time was called Yoga Glow. Now it's Glow. So it's basically like Netflix for yoga. Mm-hmm. So whatever amount of time and kind of practice you want, there's probably a class for it on that website. It presumes you have some competency in yoga because you're not with a teacher, right? You're following along. And so I started practicing that at home every day. Mm-hmm. And would wake up, in retrospect I was underslept, but I would wake up early so that I could do this before I went to work. And when I traveled, I had this little very Spartan travel yoga mat that I still have, so I bring it with me when I travel, and so that became a really essential practice. And then one day I just saw this thing called Kundalini, and I had no clue what it was. I was like, I'll give that a try. And it was super weird. You like flap your arms up and down and hold your breath and chant, and it bore no resemblance to any yoga I'd ever done before. But I felt amazing afterwards. This level of peace that I had never felt.
Really?
And just clarity, and I felt light.
After one session or after multiple sessions?
One session.
Really?
Yeah. And so I kept trying it. Took a while before it became my main thing, because I was still pretty into Vinyasa flow, which was my main thing at the time. But slowly it became my main thing. And then my first marriage ended January 2019. And that was a big deal. It was an 18-year relationship, 16-year marriage. We had 2 kids. Mm. And that practice is what got me through that.
Can you talk a little bit more? Because again, being someone who, describes himself as being Pitta, very, needing to go. Mm-hmm. And now you're doing a Kundalini yoga practice. Mm-hmm. Did you find that helped with that dosha, that Pitta, or was it the balancing that you needed to kind of calm yourself down?
Both. We can certainly get into what Kundalini is and how it works, but I would say even in advance of that, or maybe it just makes sense to go there. So, because then it'll give context. So we all have this latent energy at the base of our spine, and it's said to be coiled like a serpent, which is why they call it Kundalini. And all forms of yoga are designed to access the Kundalini, and the idea is you tap into this latent potential, you move it through the chakras, up the spine to the crown. Going back to the notion of us all being vibration and energy, right? You raise your frequency, increase your energy. Dr. Joe Dispenza has done a lot of work where he's seen in practitioners how dormant parts of the brain get turned on. And so validating what kind of folks in the East have known for a very long time. And that's the whole idea. Kundalini is designed to help us tap into our latent potential, right? And increase our energy. And the more energy we can handle, the more we can get out of life, the more we can contribute to life. And so it's a completely transformative practice. Hatha is also is very kind of strong for working with Kundalini. They're both tantric practices. Mm-hmm. And so the kind that I practice and now teach is a form called Radiant Body Yoga, which comprises Hatha or Vinyasa to prepare the body, right? Mm-hmm. So the asana to move the body, open up the spine, also enable you where you can sit. That's actually the purpose of asana, is to mm-hmm. enable you to sit and meditate. Mm-hmm. These kriyas, that word kriya means complete action. So some repetitive movement that is designed to generate and elevate energy. Bandhas or locks to kind of get that energy going in the right direction, typically to the third eye or the crown. And then eventually setting into meditation, right, which is where all the magic happens. Mm-hmm. And maybe before or after some chanting, which again is... There's vibration going on there. It's very hard to chant and think at the same time, so it's very good for becoming present. So it's just like a really complete practice, right? And it was meant for householders, right? Mm-hmm. Not renunciates, like people who wanted to be on the path, but also mm-hmm. had jobs and lives and kids and needed a practice. Like, to be honest, the appeal for me was twofold. One, like I say, I did it completely from a place of ignorance and loved it. Mm-hmm. But as I started studying it more, I actually saw, like, I approached it from self-interest, back to now about ambition. Like, I saw it as a tool for me to achieve more faster by unlocking my potential.
Can I just stop you there for a second?
Yeah.
Achieve more, going back to that word success. Mm-hmm. Was it achieve more in the financial area or achieve more in your life?
Everything. Yeah, for sure.
So you use it as kind of that all-encompassing, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I can be better, I can be more successful, I can take more things in, like yes. all of the above.
Yeah, for sure. And so I had that intuitive sense at the time. What I've come to realize since mm-hmm. is that the intuitive mind is like 10 times more powerful than the rational mind. And most people, especially in that startup world where I'm in, right, where it's this kind of grind, hustle, they're just using their rational mind. And it's a struggle. They're in a battle with themselves. Mm-hmm. They are abusing themselves, trying to do 8-10 hours of mental work a day. You can't. Mm-hmm. You can't create and think for 10 hours straight. And they never, like, intuition requires space. Mm-hmm. This is why you go for a walk in nature or you're in the shower and you have this aha moment, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so most of the CEOs I work with, don't never think about creating space, right? Right. And so, whereas I do it every single day, mm-hmm. and I've seen firsthand how my intuition has just blossomed, and as a coach, how it shows up is knowing exactly which question to ask and when, and just pure presence. And a client will bring up a topic that I've literally never thought of, and then I'll just riff on it with that person for an hour. And afterwards, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Old School with Will Ferrell, where he's like giving a debate, and afterwards he's like, "What the hell happened?" Like, anyway, it was a funny scene.
Okay, vaguely, yeah.
Anyway, that happens to me all the time. I'm like, that knowledge just flowed through me. It just showed up, and now it's gone. I don't know where it went. I don't know where it came from. It just showed up. That happens to me multiple times a week.
I find this fascinating because I'm in academia, and many academics are, get up at 6 a.m. or whatever, and then eat breakfast. But they're always thinking, like, mm-hmm. always. It's almost like they're obsessed. It's that, absent-minded prof, because they're always in their own heads.
Correct.
But it sounds like you're saying, actually get away from it, mm-hmm. and then you'll be clearer.
Yeah. Which
I find fascinating, because that's completely counterintuitive to
Correct.
North America and probably markets beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And Is this how you approach your CEOs when you're talking to them?
Yeah.
And how is that met?
Yeah, it's met well because they know that I live it, and it's part of their appeal, right? There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge, I read a book, I heard that, I went to a Joe Dispenza seminar, and now I'm trying to convince you. Mm-hmm. Wisdom, I've lived it, mm-hmm. right? So it's the latter, mm-hmm. right? And I'm very open. I post literally every day on LinkedIn where all these CEOs are. I have a weekly newsletter. I have a podcast. And I'm often sharing this, and I just launched a CEO community called Limitless. And this is one of the pillars of it, right? Mm-hmm. Is like where you're actually doing this the hard way. Mm-hmm. And we have normalized in the tech world, and perhaps in Western society, that life's meant to be hard. Mm-hmm. And like almost everyone is in some state of chronic stress, mm-hmm. has no ability to be present or pay attention, doom mm-hmm. scrolls social media, learns about everything that's wrong in the world before 8 a.m. Like, my brains we're not designed to handle that.
Right.
And now you think about the world where I live in, which is startups. And not just any startups that have raised a lot of money to create something out of nothing and disrupt a market. Mm-hmm. You cannot create when you're stressed. Mm-hmm. And so that's a big part of my message, right? I'm not trying to get them to be woo-woo. Mm-hmm. I'm actually trying to help them achieve what they want to achieve, but by recognizing, like, if you go inward and you tap into that potential, you'll be able to achieve what you want to achieve. Mm-hmm. And so so the example I bring up often is Steve Jobs, who was the co-founder of Apple, who followed Zen Buddhism and practiced Kriya Yoga. And at his funeral, he didn't, obviously, because he was dead, but everyone who went got a copy of Autobiography of a Yogi, which is a book that he read every year since he was 17. So he built the first company to be worth $1 trillion. And he was highly creative. Mm-hmm. I remember having my BlackBerry device, and I was so happy because I could power bang out emails with my thumb. And then the iPhone came out, mm-hmm. right? And rendered the BlackBerry obsolete. And that's just one example of Steve Jobs' creativity. He didn't try and build a better BlackBerry. He obliterated the BlackBerry, mm-hmm. right? And mm-hmm. Apple's done the same thing over and over again, which is why they're now worth $4 trillion.
Right.
So that's the power of creativity.
Yeah. And do you think that occurs because they give themselves space? Like they give themselves...
He did.
So tell me a little bit more. Like, you're obviously very knowledgeable about this, so...
Yeah, well, he went to India pretty early into his career and saw how different it was there. Mm. And the power of introspection and space and meditation, mm-hmm. and came back and adopted those practices and followed Zen Buddhism in mm-hmm. particular for a long time. And so Zen in particular, I did that practice for some time. Very zazen. You literally just sit. Mm-hmm. Like there's nothing else going on, and like if you move, someone comes over and whacks you with a stick. It's like...
I'm not sure I want to do that.
Yeah, I stopped. Yes. Yeah. But he was very comfortable in silence. Mm-hmm. And when you're in silence, God will speak to you.
I was just going to say, this is going to sound like a really weird question. But when we say in silence, like our thoughts, like is it about controlling our thoughts? Is it about just being quiet? Like, mm-hmm. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by being in silence?
Yeah, I think, there are layers to it. So let's take meditation. So first of all is sitting down, mm-hmm. getting comfortable, being okay that for some period of time, a minute, 5 minutes, an hour, I am going to have no stimulation. That's the first thing, and that's like a big barrier for a lot of people.
I just felt everyone listening's heart rate just went up.
Exactly. Then there's once you do that and tune into your breath, you realize like it's a mess inside your head. And there's all these thoughts and they're coming and going. And so a lot of people think that meditation is actual silence and that you're doing it wrong if there are those thoughts, and that's not true. You just have to create a little separation between you and those thoughts, get into that thing called the witness state and recognize that those thoughts aren't you, they just come and go, and if you just keep coming back to your breath, you're doing it right. And over time, they do dissipate. Mm-hmm. They'll never go away entirely, but they dissipate. And yeah, just being, I think it's really scary for people to not have stimulation.
Right. Particularly in our environment that we live in with technology. I mean, I don't have my phone on me, but I've got a computer in front of me.
That's right.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but creating that space, I mean, it's worked for you, it's worked for Steve Jobs, it's working for your CEOs, and they're very receptive to that as well. Mm-hmm. And they're receptive because you're living proof of it being effective. I guess in my mind, what I'm still, and I'm jumping a little bit all over the place because I'm going from you, Lululemon, to being a master of, like, you're very knowledgeable about that. Is that you, Mark, that dives deep and wants to understand? Or is this practice so important that it just opened the door for you to want to learn more?
Well, first of all, I'll never ever refer to myself as anything other than a student.
Right.
But yeah, got back to this notion of potential, right? Like, come here, anything's possible. Anything I do, I want to do all the way. Mm-hmm. So that's a thing. I guess I've seen the power of the practice, particularly Kundalini yoga. Mm-hmm. Right? I got very serious about it in 2019. I started doing the 300-hour teacher training with no intention to teach, just to deepen my practice. And then along the way realized, oh, actually, you know what, this has changed my life, maybe I'll share it with people. And so afterwards I did the 200, so I did it backwards. But in between, also, I went to India for the first time and did 16 days at an ashram with my teacher there, which was amazing. And yeah, I don't know, I've just seen everything that's, well, no, I've seen the transformation, like, that comes from that practice, right? And so it just motivates for me personally, and so it just motivates me to keep going. And the struggle is to not become attached.
Tell me more.
Well, sometimes in deep practice and deep sadhana, you will get glimpses of what you can only describe as God. Mm-hmm. And then part of you would be like, well, I want to go back there. But then you can't control it. You can't, just because it happened that yesterday, it's not going to happen today. In fact, it's definitely not going to happen today. And if you strive for it, you won't get it. Mm-hmm. And if you become attached, like, oh, I need to get to that state again, you're clinging, you're grasping. Right. So you have to detach and practice for practice sake. Mm-hmm. And then if you get there, awesome. If you don't, whatever. The only bad practice is the one that didn't happen.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you're bringing spirituality into this, because one of the reasons why I love yoga is it is so multifactorial. Mm-hmm. It is the breath, the body, the mind, the spirit. And, myself personally, I think that's why it helps so many people, because you need the breath, I need the movement, they need the spirit. Mm-hmm. And that it's very integrative into all of those things. So I love the fact that you're such a broad student of this practice. Mm-hmm. I've completely gone off my script, by the way.
I'd like to bring up something.
Yeah, by all means.
Last time I saw you, and I guess you had first learned about my business background, and you're like, oh, I thought you were a full-time yogi. I am a full-time yogi. that does not mean someone who teaches all the time. For me, I'm trying to live all of my life as a practice and live every moment in accordance with the yamas and niyamas. Like, I think about yoga all the time. It's how I live my life.
So it's your spiritual guide, but can you just unpack a little bit what you mean by the yamas and the niyamas, so our listeners are kind of on the same path?
Yeah, just different values, I guess, frameworks of things to do and things not to do. So I don't know, santosha, like content. Yeah. I'm not striving, need more. I'm not going to be happy unless I get this, right? Like our truthfulness, right? Like there's just like basic, in some sense, common sense, but like they're values, right? Yeah. This is like, I took Buddhist vows in 2019, and I don't see Buddhism as a religion. Again, I see it as a framework of just principles that make sense, right, for how to live life. And so I don't want to call myself any one of those things, but they're both very strong. Like, I'm not a Buddhist, yoga's not a religion, Buddhism's not a religion, but they're just frameworks for life that help me stay on the right path, right? And so I think about that. I read the Bhagavad Gita every year and think about what it can teach me to be a better human and be of more service and continue to master the things that I do.
Thank you for correcting me on that. And I meant it in a different context, but you're entirely right. Is those moral and ethical and those personal guidelines that the yamas and the niyamas give to me and you, just allowing you to be like, if I want that fulfillment, if I want to be a better person, then, where is lying getting me, right? Where is lack of truth getting me? So I love that about you, that you're very intentional in life with living that way.
Yeah.
What would happen if you didn't have that? Like, if that suddenly you're like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to focus on that today. I'm going to go do something else. Like, it's not going to be part of it. Or is it so ingrained in you that it's kind of breathing? It's your left hand.
I can't even imagine, to be honest. Honestly. Like, even in my craziest busy days, I still practiced every day. I do morning sadhana every day. Maybe not. Maybe I skip it on a Sunday. Maybe I sleep in with my wife. But we have an actual yoga studio in our house, and yeah, it's just the foundation of my day. Again, the Kundalini practice specifically about raising your vibrations, elevating your frequency, tuning in. And so I know when I'm not tuned in, I can feel it. And therefore it's holding me back from fulfilling my purpose, right? It's when I'm in that state that I can be of best service to my clients, be the best husband, be the best, father, son, friend that I can be. So it's not a burden, but I kind of feel like I have to do it.
Right. And again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds to me it's like how I live healthy. I eat well, I exercise, I do all those things that, is Canada's Food Guide and all that stuff, but it's plus. Like, you're adding that plus.
Yep.
And is that kind of the topping, the icing on the cake that helps you in your daily life? Or is it, again, just,
it's way more than the icing.
Yeah, okay. Can you unpack that a little bit more?
Well, again, it's how I start my day.
Yeah.
Right? I literally get up. I'm addicted to chai tea ever since I went to India. And so I usually will make it the night before. So I'll warm some up and I'll bring it down with me for sadhana. And have some while I'm sitting on the cushion and grounding myself, and then get into practice. So I'm writing a book now, and on the CEO journey, and so the practice kind of gets me into that state where, like, I'll practice, make breakfast, sit down, and start writing, and I find I'm just in the zone, like the words just flow out, and I think it's because of that practice, right? So practice enables everything that's important to me.
And I love that, because I remember very clearly before AI came into play, I'm writing and I can't think of a word. Mm-hmm. It's just not coming to me. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I want to pound my head against the computer. For some reason that would help. Maybe if I just went away.
That's right. Back to space, creating space, right?
Yeah.
Versus the struggle, the striving. And you think about what's happening there, everything's tightening up. You are actually not even receptive to that input. Whereas if you stepped away and everything was loose and you took a deep breath, it's like, it's fine. Mm-hmm. It'll show up.
Mm-hmm. And I think, as I talk to people through this, my mind goes to different areas. And with you, I'm thinking, wow, what a gift we could give kids, mm-hmm. right? If we taught them this kind of practice about, well, maybe you can comment on that. Like, what would happen? You have kids, so mm-hmm. what would happen if we gave that to them in school? And part B, is that something that you've given to your kids?
On the latter, I tried.
Yeah.
I also tried to teach them to DJ. And my son, who's now 20, I was out for dinner with him 2 weeks ago. And he's like, I would have been so cool if I had started DJing then. Right. But they didn't do it. No, they didn't stick to meditation either. The Dalai Lama said that if all children were taught meditation in school, there'd be no war in a generation.
Yeah. Can you comment on that? Because I think that's fascinating, and I have to agree.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think that's, why do you think that might be one of the answers to our chaotic world we live in?
Well, at the base level, true meditation brings you more peace. At the deepest level, true meditation connects you with Source, where you realize we're all the same. Mm-hmm. You're not separate from me. Mm-hmm. You're in this separate meat casing, but we're the same, and mm-hmm. everyone's the same. Mm-hmm. And so, why would I kill part of me? Mm-hmm. So... But yeah, at the very base level, more peace versus mm-hmm. angst, mm-hmm. getting us out of the state where we feel like we need to be violent to people.
Yeah, and going back to those yamas and niyamas, right? That's part of it is just being kind to each other. I feel like you're the master here, and though I know you said you're the student, but I'm taking away so much. And I get why your clients would be fascinated by you, because you have such a depth of knowledge and ability to give to others and try something new without it being, in that woo-woo kind of realm, which, people are frightened of. But it's just very, accepting, right? Like, that is just who you are. So I see that.
The word I try and use with my clients, you have to meet people where they are, is inspiration. Rather than telling them that they are spirit, I talk about, I bring up benchmarks of inspiration. So you think about a professional athlete or a virtuoso musician. What do we say about them? That's an inspired performance. Mm-hmm. Or someone in my world, someone who's built a $1 billion company. Toby, founder of Shopify. Wow, he was inspired. Look at what he's done. He leads a company with 10,000 employees. Mm-hmm. Look at that word, inspiration. What does it mean? In spirit. I am mm-hmm. connected to spirit. I am mm-hmm. connected to that infinite creative potential, and that's what enables this performance that you consider to be amazing. Yeah. And this, when you, now connecting the dots back to Kundalini, I would argue anyone, any genius from history, Newton, Galileo, whoever, they probably had these dormant parts of their brain turned on. Mm-hmm. And anyone who achieves greatness somehow taps into their potential. But very few of them would describe themselves as spiritual. So mm-hmm. I'm trying to show them hey, you can go here without becoming woo-woo. Mm-hmm.
And I love that you reminded me of something I heard a while ago with regards to the word spirit. Spiritus is actually breath, is actually wind. Mm-hmm. And so in spirit is the wind is filling us, the breath is filling us. So it's inspired spirit. Maybe I'm making a stretch here, but going back to that breath, going back to that space, going back to that time where we just give to ourselves and rest.
That's right. And then what are you doing with breath? You're ingesting life force, prana.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the same as air. It's not just breath, but like that's the primary way in which we fill ourselves with prana.
Right. I love this. You have a music project. We're flipping things here a little bit. Music for Seekers, which blends electronic sound with spiritual elements. Mm-hmm. How does that bridge, again, like that spiritual elements with electron? I don't think, from my perspective, that that's something that people would think about with electronic music. Can you talk a little bit more about this project that you're working on?
Yeah, so first of all, the music's a little slower, so typically around 100 beats per minute. The tracks are quite meditative, so they evolve slowly over a period of time, so that you can really sink yourself into them. They, in some cases, incorporate spiritual elements, like I did one where the foundation of the track is the mantra Om. Mm-hmm. And then I'm using things that show up, like I sampled my Tibetan gong and included it in the track. Some might include those frequencies, so like the 1400 hertz, which is the root chakra, if I remember correctly. I did a track, my most popular track, I actually sampled my yoga teacher from teaching a class, and I created a track and then sent it to her, and she was shocked that she's in it.
Why was that?
Well, because I didn't tell her I was going to do it. I just did it.
Oh.
Get forgiveness, not permission.
Okay.
But now I DJ for her quite regularly at her big events. Music that has spiritual elements, but then also just this intention of getting you into that state, right? Yeah. So I DJ'd. There's a big wellness center called Kripalu. I don't know if you know of it.
No, I've never heard of it.
It's near Boston. It used to be a big monastery, and now it's a giant yoga and wellness center. And I DJ'd an ecstatic dance there in May, and everyone came in, and like 2 hours later, they're all in a trance, just completely enveloped in the music. And so music has that potential. It's moving meditation.
And I love that, because now I'm thinking about when I've attended the yoga classes where you're DJing, and I love music. Like, music is my driving force. And I don't know why, but, as you're explaining it, it is very trance-like. It's a background to me, but it's calming. Mm-hmm. And as I'm going through my vinyasa practice, it's just, and I'm lost of words. Like, it really just helps make me present here, and I don't think about the struggle of the pose or something. I'm just into the vibration, I guess, is what it is, because it sounds like you're very intentional with frequency, with beats per minute.
Yep, for sure.
And so is that how you're kind of setting the mood? Like, you're like, okay, this is the mood I want to set. We're going to be at X number of beats per minute or something.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of chicken and eggs. I'm also trying to match the intensity of the instructor.
Okay. Because
some practices are, like I did it last night with Taylor, and it's always dark, but she made it even darker, and the class was gentle, and so I just stayed there. The music was super deep, really slow. Actually started at 90 beats per minute, at a lot more ambient, which is kind of beatless music. Mm-hmm. So I just stayed there, so it's an interaction between me and the teacher. I
love it. And you're doing it kind of on the fly, or you're...
Totally on the fly. Yeah, for sure.
You're totally gifted. I'm loving this. Wow. I'm learning so much here. This is fantastic. Mark, if you were to tell somebody my sons are 20 years old, and they have friends that are going into business, and if you were to speak to them, what would you tell them about moving into business? What is it that they should do from whatever realm you want to take it.
My hesitation is only because of artificial intelligence and its impact on career trajectories for young people. I think what I always told my children, who are 21 and 20 now, is that I hope at some point you work for yourself, but there's no rush. Learn on someone else's dime, try a few things out, see what you like, but, again, back to success, that word, I think part of it comes from autonomy. And I've only ever worked for or with or been an entrepreneur. And so I've always wanted that for my children, and I think both are actually on that path at some point. And then you're creating, it's a thing, you're giving birth to a company, for better or worse, you're in charge. I think building a company is actually a personal development journey, it grows you. So I certainly want that for people. But everyone says find your passion, but I think that's maybe a bit simplistic. Like eventually, I think you have to go and acquire some skills. Particularly if I were to generalize, I think males develop at a slower rate than females.
I won't disagree.
So get that executive functioning in place for a while before you make some very lifelong decisions. So just get out there, work, enjoy, see what you like. Find a mentor. Mentors have been massive for me. Eventually, there's a Japanese concept that I really love called ikigai. Are you familiar with this?
No, I'm not.
So it's the intersection of what you love, like what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for.
Okay.
The intersection of these are what you are meant to do in life. And when I was trying to decide whether to shut down a highly successful investment bank to become a coach, I did the ikigai exercise, and it was crystal clear. And so I shut it down.
That's fantastic. I'm going to rewind this and take notes, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can go back and digest this. Mark, what would you tell your younger self? If you were able to speak to Mark in Scotland before moving to Canada, what would you tell yourself?
Great question. I don't know. I don't know, because I feel like that would completely change the journey. That's my hesitation. I think I had to go through it all. I think we're very hard on ourselves. So maybe I would, and it's a double-edged sword. I think a lot of what I've achieved in life is because I'm hard on myself. But maybe I would tell my younger self that I'm enough. And love myself a bit more. Yeah,
I love that. Because I think sometimes that's what we don't do. Full disclosure, that's certainly me. So I appreciate you saying that. Mark, if our listeners want to connect with you, how is the best way to connect with you?
So if they're curious about the business Mark, it's markmacleod.me. If they're curious about the music Mark, they could find me on Spotify under Mark Macleod or SoundCloud under Mark Macleod. If they were curious about the yogi Mark, it's Radiant with Mark on Instagram, or just come to Go Yoga where we teach and take a class. And if they're curious about the spiritual Mark, then they should just meditate and meet me in the quantum field, because I try and go there every day.
I love it. I'll put those in the show notes as well. Mark, this has truly been a fascinating conversation for me. And I feel like I've been all over the place, but you have given me so many nuggets to meditate on. And I know I'm going to ask you more questions after we sign off here, but I thank you so much for your wisdom.
My pleasure.
I thank you so much for the opportunity to learn from you. And I thank you for being a continual student, because I see how you've blessed me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Many thanks to Mark Macleod for sharing your story today. It is such a powerful reminder that the path to success can also be a path to self-discovery when we're willing to listen inward as much as we strive outward. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, your humor, and your wisdom. If you'd like to connect with Mark, please read through the show notes where you'll find multiple links to his business, his podcast, and his music. And if you enjoyed this conversation, please do me one little favor and share this show with 1 to 2 people you know who could benefit from Mark's journey. As always, please like, follow, or subscribe to The Inner Practice wherever you listen, and you can leave a comment to share your reflections or connect with our growing community. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor the podcast, you'll find the contact information in the show notes. And if you'd like to show your support, you can buy me a coffee. Your generosity helps me continue creating meaningful conversations like this one. The show is sponsored by Jackie Vandertoon Therapy, bridging evidence-informed practice of athletic therapy to the holistic approach of yoga therapy to help heal your mind, body, and spirit. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, keep listening inward. This is The Inner Practice, and I'm Jackie Vandertoon.